Basketball fans definitely are not hooping it up today. What's delaying the NBA season? Two candidates front and center in tonight's debate. Who now leads the most recent poll, and by how much?
I don't know how you will ever get it back to what it was. You probably never will.
Midwest flooding and the long-term impact on farmers. Are you getting a jump start on holiday shopping? Before you lay away, watch this story. And caught on camera, a man asked police for his pot back. How this ended. Your Independent News Network starts right now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Mickle. Welcome to INN News. It's bad news for basketball players, stadium workers, cities, and fans. The regular NBA season is delayed by at least 2 weeks after players and owners failed to reach an agreement on a new labor deal.
We now know where we are and where the players are. We don't have to guess about it, and we part on good terms with the negotiators. We just have a gulf that separates us.
We're going to do the responsible thing and try our best to bring them basketball as soon as we possibly can.
The two sides have been negotiating over salary caps and splitting revenue. The lockout began in July, and there is no deal in sight.
We are veterans of the United States of America.
Tensions flared during an Occupy Boston protest early this morning. Police say the protesters held a demonstration outside of a downtown area where they were allowed to protest. Officers warned the group to move. About 60 people who did not were arrested. Many of the protesters were university students. Well, this plan to cut state spending led to repeated protests at the Wisconsin state capitol. Now Governor Scott Walker is under fire. The state Democratic Party will start recall proceedings against the GOP governor on November 15th. It's fallout from the bruising battle over a collective bargaining law. But the state Republican Party says Walker is reviving the state's economy by freezing property taxes and bringing jobs to the state. Recall organizers will need to gather more than 500,000 signatures in 2 months. Time for Your Vote 2012, and tonight the Republican candidates face off in yet another debate, this time in New Hampshire. And this time going in, there are two new frontrunners. The latest Gallup poll shows Mitt Romney at top with 20%, but Herman Cain is right behind him with 18%. Governor Rick Perry's in third with 15%. Now compare this to last month when Perry was ahead with 31%. Romney with 24% and Herman Cain way at the bottom with 5%. Romney and Cain will hold the most prominent spots in tonight's debate, reserved for frontrunners. Perry, well, he's been pushed off to the side. Adrift at sea and coping with the death of a loved one. That's the tragic story for a Florida family after a boat outing turned into a fight for survival. 8 of them went out on Saturday, including a grandfather, grandmother, mother, father, and a 4-year-old girl. The water was really choppy, so they decided to head back. But a giant wave capsized their boat. The 79-year-old grandmother drowned. 3 boaters held into the hull. 4 others floated away. Despite earlier reports, now these 4 did have life jackets, and they held on to each other.
There's no words really to describe, just to feel that they had to survive and try to get to land somehow.
20 hours later, they were all rescued by the Coast Guard. A top official with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta faces child molestation and bestiality charges. Police arrested Dr. Kimberly Lindsay on Sunday along with her live-in boyfriend. The case involves a 6-year-old boy, but authorities are not disclosing details. Lindsay is a deputy director for the Laboratory Science Policy and Practice Program Office. There is no comment tonight from the CDC. Military forces in Somalia say they have taken strongholds in northeastern Mogadishu. They say it's been a big achievement to remove remaining strongholds of al-Qaeda affiliate al-Shabaab in the Somali capital. Last week, al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for a suicide truck bombing in the heart of Mogadishu that left dozens dead. Other al-Shabaab attacks last week led to the deaths of at least 10 civilians. From bad to New Zealand's worst ever environmental disaster at sea. High winds and strong swells are hampering efforts to stop the flow of oil gushing into pristine coastal waters. At least 130 tons of oil are thought to have leaked from the Liberian flag container ship, which ran aground on a reef off New Zealand's North Island. Clumps of oil have begun washing up on shore. Snow has been falling in northwest China. Forecasters say the wintry weather is coming about a month earlier than it did last year. The snow began falling on Saturday, helping to decrease the grass fire danger. It's also causing heavy fog in the area. Residents say they were excited to see the early snowfall, though they had to go home and bundle up with more clothes. And that's your Global News Now. Well, we are spending less money on ourselves, but not Fido. Ryan Bass has that and more as he gets back to business.
The nation's unemployment numbers are still high at 9.1%, but a few segments are seeing a slight improvement. Construction firms added 26,000 jobs in September, the most in 7 months. Industry officials say the latest gains could signal a moderate turnaround next year. So far this year, contractors have added 53,000 jobs after losing 153,000 positions last year. The airline industry is starting to hit some turbulence. Consumers and businesses are once again cutting back on their travel plans because of the struggling economy. Carriers that enjoyed modest growth for much of the year are now seeing ticket sales slump. Fewer flights are being booked, and that may not change anytime soon. That could lead to higher ticket prices. One industry analyst says airlines will likely boost the cost of tickets to offset the sluggish demand. The tough economy has Americans cutting corners in many areas of their lives, but not when it comes to pampering their pets. Americans will spend more than $50 billion on their animals this year, according to the American Pet Products Association. Spending on pets has increased every year since 2001. Food makes up much of the cost. A typical dog owner will spend $254 a year to feed Fido, not including treats, while cat owners shell out about $220. For your Back to Business, I'm Ryan Bass.
Coming up next, the flood of 2011 may be over, but many worry about the lasting effects.
There are some farms in our area that are never going to be the same, that probably won't ever get farmed again.
We will take you back to the heartland where farmers are heartbroken after their livelihood is washed away. Plus, an incredible finish for one woman running a marathon in the form of this bundle of joy. And buy now, pay later. But is layaway too good to be true? What you need to know, coming up on INN.